Good evening. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the hidden truths of the psyche, my steps in development of the subconscious, as well as what happens in the psyche that keeps us sort of in this spiral of self-destruction and self-betrayal. So I first like to start with the universal laws, principle of mentalism, mainly principle of gender is what we're going to talk about tonight, and a little bit about the principle of correspondence. First, let me start off with the principle of mentalism. I realize that the principle of mentalism, this is kind of like the law of all laws. And it's very difficult for humans to grasp the vastness of the universe, all that is the universe that we're a part of, that's in us. Therefore, it's very hard for us to grasp ourselves and how magnanimous we are. So the principle of mentalism is basically saying all is mind. Every single thing in our world is created by our mind. It's all mental, it's all energy. And so this model is really about thoughts and how if we take thoughts, clean them up, so to speak, transmute them, then our entire world changes. And the more and more we do this and the more and more we fine tune this, the better and happier and balanced we'll live and we'll be. It's very difficult for us to understand the principle of mentalism because people will say to me, so what, am I not looking at this shoe, at this phone case? Yes, it's materialized thought. Energy is energy. It's all materialized into then the earthly realm, which is what we see and what our body is. But really, if we were to pull away the earth element, which we'll see tonight, always dies, then we see that we're just vibration, we're just energy. The principle of gender is pretty much the law that we can all see at all times. We identify male, female, we identify masculine and feminine traits. We identify with the yin and yang that has masculine and feminine in each. We know that men have estrogen, women have testosterone. So the principle of gender is really the one that we can understand. So let me explain. The sixth chakra, if you look at the caduceus, or you speak of kundalini, you're always going to see snakes, serpents, dragons. Those are symbols of the illusions. When they come together, they join heads, they're at the sixth chakra. This is where the law of gender happens. This is where the balance happens. When masculine and feminine energies within are balanced, then you can birth, then you can create. And so I'm going to sort of demystify a little bit of the toxic masculinity and the divine feminine, because those terms are thrown around and I don't think that we really understand exactly what those are and how we achieve the law of gender, the principle of gender in balanced masculine and feminine energies. So I'm going to explain that. As a result of how we have been living out of balance, we created the toxic masculinity. So it exists in the earthly world, but it's because of the principle of mentalism, the energy in our mind, the thoughts, that then we created an illusion of the world around that law that we can identify as the principle of gender. So the sixth chakra is known as the Ishvadevatar, whereas God as form. You need form. Everything that's in the earthly world, we cannot understand seventh chakra, which is transcendent of form. We really can catch minor glimpses of that, but we really can't understand the magnitude. And as humans, we're only allowed access to 4 levels or planes of the universe up until the Akashic plane or the Akashic records. The additional 3 planes we don't have access to because our earth, our body is too dense. So we have the law of correspondence, or the principle of correspondence, which states as within, so without. Whatever's happening within, which is the thought. It's all mental. We're going to discuss the psyche today and how the psyche is formed. And that is what creates the world that you think you're seeing, that you live in. It's also as above, so below. Everything that's happening here in this plane is already a reflection of what's happening above. So it's sort of like our glimpse into God. So let's start with symbolism. There's three main symbols in the universe that make up all of creation: the circle, the triangle, and the square. If you look at the Sri Yantra, if you look at the chakras, if you look at the Kabbalah tree, if you look at most any spiritual system symbology, it is a combination of circles, triangles, and squares, because this is how the universe is explained. The circle is spirit and wholeness, triangle is thought, and square is the earth or the body. So let's talk a little bit about mythology. In mythology, Saturn was dethroned. He was dethroned by his son Jupiter, or Zeus, and it was split up into three parts. This is exactly how our psyche is split up into three parts. Jupiter got the heavens, the largest part. Neptune got the ocean, sort of like the middle world, and Pluto got the underworld. All of these are aspects of our psyche. So in our psyche here, Jupiter is thoughts and he is king. He gets the biggest part. Neptune rules emotions. Water is always linked to emotions. And Pluto is linked to desires, the hidden aspects of ourselves we want no one to know. So let's design the psyche. This outer circle is the spirit. Anytime you see a circle, it's a spirit, it's the universe, it's wholeness, it's non-duality. That's why the serpents get balanced, the masculine and the feminine, the Ida and the Pingala in the chakra system get balanced at the sixth chakra. And I've told you before that the sixth chakra is a circle that's a void, and you'll see that with two lotus petals on either side, which is mom or dad, and the sun and the representative mom or dad. So you're non-dual when your masculine and feminine energies are raised. This is the only concept you can understand. This is like the highest law that as a human you can really understand, is understanding the two snakes together. That's non-duality. I can now live a balanced life. We don't understand the transcendent function. We really have trouble with non-duality. As a shaman, I say we walk between the worlds. We have earthly consciousness and spirit consciousness double dipping, living simultaneously, which is what Buddha and Jesus came to show us. When we achieve that level of balance, we're in the law of gender, masculine and feminine are in balance, and then we're non-dual. It's represented by a circle. It's union. People will call it God. I call it the Akashic records because it's the Akashic plane, which is the highest version we can go into. But this means all of the universe. This is not just the planes we have access to, but when I read for the records, I understand that's what I'm accessing, even though there's more. Some people call it spirit guides, messages. Ouroboros is the serpent that swallows its tail, and that's also a symbol. Anything that's circular means wholeness and spirit and the universe intact. Within that universe, which is the outer circle, there is always a triangle. The triangle is thought. You need three energies to create anything. The mother, the father, child is from my Seven Gates book. The victim, the perpetrator, the rescuer are the archetypes of Jupiter, Neptune, and Pluto. In Christianity, we have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. In Hinduism, we have Shiva, Vishnu, Brahma. In science, we have neutron, proton, and electron. You need three. In the Bible, it says, when three are joined in my name, three is the key. So everything in this sort of plane starts with 3. We don't have sort of that intact wholeness, and so we kind of collect energetically as a thought. At the moment of conception, you were conceived on 3. It's your mother, your father, and you enter the space at conception and you create 3. And it is based on an impure thought that you are rooted on. So here's the circle, which is the universe. The triangle, which I said is the thought. And now we're talking about the body. The body is the materialized thought. This is very important. Energy, thought is energy. And this is what people have trouble with. Thoughts, energies, desires are energy. It comes from this outer universal energy. Nothing can be created or destroyed. So the moment you're conceived, your body at a slower rate than the thought, and of course the spirit that entered the womb, it takes the 9 months to create. And then inner circle is your divine spark of the universe that lives inside of the body. The body and the earthly realm is always square. It's always the number 4. It has straight lines. The universe, nature, no straight lines, only in the earthly realm, and it all dies. All form dies. So this is you in a nutshell. As you can see, it's the symbol to the school, the squared circle, or the philosopher's stone, a very famous metaphysical system or symbol. I use the symbol to explain the psyche, and you're going to see that I'm going to build and build upon it so you can understand the importance of the symbol and why we use this. First of all, you are whole. You come from this universal energy. You are the universe. The universe is within you. You are whole, intact energy from the universe before conception. The moment you are conceived on an impure thought, and that became you. You started as a thought. You started as a thought that then is energy solidified into, let's say, a triangle. Doesn't have a body yet per se, and then your body is developed. That thought became your subconscious. Thoughts, emotions, and desires. I call this a TED Talk. So your parents have you, they conceive you, and you're the TED Talk. Your thoughts, your emotions, and your desires. And you were given a low level of consciousness. All of that is energy. The body has not even begun yet. This is simply at the moment of conception. You're already gifted your thoughts, emotions, desires, and level of consciousness. And there's no body. Next is the body. During the 9 months of pregnancy, your body begins to develop. That body is 100% the materialization of everything you think, you feel, and you desire. Everything about you, everything you create that is in the form, from your head to your toe, to your home, to everything that you create in the material world, started with an impure thought, emotions, desires, and low-level consciousness. That is the world that you live in. Every other person lives in their version of that world. There is no same version for absolutely anybody. I have twins, and people ask me all the time. Depends on their level of consciousness, their thoughts, their emotion, and their desires. That's why even though they have the same astrology chart, they live it out differently. The body is simply a materialization of thought. This is the step where you see the energy. So I ask people, if I birthed a baby and I gave you a ball of energy, what would you do? You would ask me for the body. We associate energy with the form, with the illusion, with the body in this plane. That is why it is so hard to understand the transcendence, and we are stuck at the law of gender and cannot understand the magnitude of the principle of mentalism. So super important. You build your entire life. Your entire body is a manifestation of those thoughts, emotions, and desires. Your body does not lie. It does not hide a thing. It is an absolute reflection of everything going on in the psyche. The body materializes thoughts, emotions, desires through the body is a mental and physical illness. When you have mental and physical illness, it's the same. The mental materializes to the physical. It's just a slower process because of the density of material. Inside the body, you have a soul. This inner circle is your soul. This soul is made from the same material as this outer circle, the universe. So to say that God or the universe has your back is a misnomer. It is circular. There's no hierarchy. There's no back. You are equal to the universe. The universe is within you. You are a microcosm of the universe. You are not a child of the universe or God. You are that. The soul is made from the same material as the universe. It is whole. It has a purpose. It has a direction programmed into your psyche in this lifetime from the moment of conception. I'm going to show you where we go wrong and why so many people come to me and ask what their purpose is. So what goes wrong? This soul, I equate it to a diamond that shines bright. However, it is covered in muck. Let's just call it honey for a visual. That honey is thoughts, emotions, and desires, the TED Talk, and low-level consciousness. If you pour honey all over the soul, it weighs down the soul. And if you have honey all over that soul, this inner circle, that is the divine spark in you, it weighs it down, and that is called the ego. The ego is the soul, and everybody has an ego and needs an ego, and you can never, ever take away thoughts, emotions, or desires in a lifetime while you're in a body. So anyone who says they don't have an ego or has worked their ego is lying. But it covers the soul, and then you think you're the ego. We also call this personality. You think you're your thoughts, you think you're your emotions, you think you're your desires, and you're not. When you pull those back, then the bright diamond can shine. The soul, when the honey is removed, is direct will, and that is why I have the arrow here. The circle is the spirit, and an arrow means divine direction or a directed purpose, a directed will. It's the symbol for Mars or the masculine energy. This is where we get the misnomer of the toxic masculinity, and I will explain that further. The circle is the spirit. The arrow indicates a clear direction. When the honey is removed from your soul, your diamond, you know your purpose. You know how to get there. The universe seems to flow. We use these words and we don't really understand. We are no longer sticky and low-level consciousness, and it just simply takes us where we're meant to go. So what goes wrong? Thoughts, emotions, and desires that are not processed become illness or weight in the body. This could be physical weight. I had a client yesterday that was about 80 pounds overweight, and it's a gluttony. It is gluttony of thought, emotion, and desires that hasn't been processed, that hasn't been sat with and dealt with. So it's created as weight. This can go the same with people that are thin. This is not necessarily the materialization of obesity. It could also be emaciation. It's energy, and the body is showing you what's in this psyche. Thoughts, emotions, and desires are the honey that weighs down the soul. There are three archetypes. Victim is Neptune, the oceans, the emotions. Rescuer is Zeus or Jupiter, the heavens, what we call God. Very important. We give God this name when it is an aspect of our psyche. We are the rescuer, or we wait for someone else to rescue us, which is not healthy. And the perpetrator is Pluto, which is the underworld, which we'll talk about is sort of like these dark desires that we have that we want to try to hide. The body shows everything. The body will indicate all of your thoughts, all your emotions, and all of your desires that you have not dealt with. It could be through scars, it could be through weight, it could be through illness, mental illness, everything. The body does not lie, it's loyal to the psyche. All thoughts fall into one of these categories of victim, perpetrator, or victim or rescuer, unless they're processed. And all thoughts, everything is a thought, simply energy, is either a thought, emotion, or desire, depending on the archetype, and will show through the body here in the circle, weighing down your soul, causing it to be more ego, more need-based, seeking validation or protection or safety and security, and doesn't have a direction. So all thoughts, emotions, and desires go back to mother and father. In the 7 Gates book, it's an individual systems theory. And I say, who is it, mother or father? That is the first go-to question of any process that comes up in your life that's disturbing on a scale of 1 to 10. Is it mother or father? The moment you can identify if it's mother or father, you know you're already in child and you're disconnected from the universal energy. You're working from your ego, not your soul, your ego wrapped in TED, thoughts, energies, and desires. All thoughts, emotions, and desires link back to the 3 major archetypes, Jupiter, Neptune, and Pluto. Pluto is the perpetrator. This is the parent that you kicked out of the system. You had an alliance with mother or father, and one parent is unintegrated. That is the key to all of your success, integrating that parent. In The Truth is in the Triangle, I call that parent the way he or she shows up, the mistress. In the 7 Gates, the child. In The Truth is in the Triangle, one of the partners. You want your partner to be your rescuer over here, while you want to stay child and you want to get rescued. So you're the victim. In the newest book, Wisdom of the Psyche, I'm going to talk later about the universal systems theory. All of this can be extrapolated to individual system, couple system, and dethroning Olympus. I have the family systems, and now I have sort of the universal or the world system for the age of Aquarius. In Dethroning Olympus, I talk about emotions, thoughts, and desires being offerings and sacrifices to the gods, which are your parents. It all goes back to that. Who is Lilith? Lilith is the hidden truths of your soul. So within that diamond, that direction has Lilith. Lilith is the part of your psyche that is the only part of your psyche that knows you are equal to the universe. She is aware that she removes her mask. She is God. God is within her, and there's equality. Religions don't want you to know this. This is important in the age of Aquarius. This is not that you are everything and you are the God and you are the universe. No, it's a spark. A part of you is in there, but it's way down. You are not a child of God. You are a God. She is hidden by the thoughts, emotions, and desires, and she's trapped in the soul and cannot get out because you use your masculine Mars energy to get your needs met. This is where toxic masculinity has been misrepresented. Again, I am not saying that the earthly world and abuse did not happen. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is everything in the world of form is illusion and is created from our psyche. If our masculine energy and everyone's masculine energy has been out of whack and toxic within your own psyche, of course we're going to create a world that is of toxic masculinity. The age of Aquarius is about the divine feminine, but it's not the divine feminine in sensuality and lavender and oils and things like that. I'll explain what that means. You were not, as a child, having your needs met. This created a conflict and a feeling of unworthiness in your psyche. So you learned something from mom and dad that if you did fill in the blank, they would love you unconditionally and they would meet your needs. That's a false statement, but that's what you internalized. That became your drive and your purpose, your Mars. Mars is the drive, is the ego. So for instance, I sought after degrees, educational degrees and certificates, thinking that the more degrees and the more knowledge I had in terms of education, I would get my needs met. Not true. That's wrapped in thought, energy, desire, your personality, your ego, not your soul. Lilith is trying to liberate you. Lilith liberates us because the lies that we tell are to hide Lilith. She is our inner prostitute that has all the answers. She's the one that gives us the spiritual striptease to remove our mask and to say, God, universe, spirit, whatever word you want to use, we are the same. Only when we remove all of those masks and we show up balanced in the sixth chakra with the masculine and the feminine energy from the law of gender, then can we actually do our soul and its direction and purpose. So if you want to know what your purpose is, you've got a lot of work to do to remove all that honey from your diamond. And then your soul will just take you. It's already programmed in your psyche. The ego will make you do anything to get your safety, protection, validation, and love needs met. You did not have these needs met. So your toxic masculinity, your ego, your Mars, we're going to go into the planets in a moment, makes you go, 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 go. So you do this, you do that, you're an adult, you work, you gather money, you gather things, you gather lovers, whatever it is in your psyche that you think mom and dad want more of, because we're all hoarders and gluttons, so we can get our needs met. It doesn't work that way. We're the only ones that can meet our needs. So in a moment, I'm going to populate the psyche. So again, this is the psyche. It's all in your head. This is your head. This is the physical representation of what's going on in here. And I just want to show you the meaning of the glyphs before I start putting them in the mental x-ray or the psychological x-ray. This is Mercury. He is responsible for our thoughts. He's also the reason that we play psychological musical chairs and lie and are deceitful and crooked and delusional. So whenever you see a little crescent, that means thought. Think of like an antenna to getting information, intellect, and it's the crescent moon, which means emotion. The spirit is the circle of spirit always, and the cross is always desire or matter. So Mercury has all of the TED Talk, but he also has a spirit. So again, if you take away the thought, the emotion, and the desire, and you clean up the diamond, here it is. So Mercury is very, very telling about how to achieve to get your soul sort of cleaned up. This is Venus, the glyph again, spirit, the cross of matter, desire. When we balance spirit and matter, we are in balance. That is the counterpart to the Mars glyph here. We'll see that in a moment. This is Mars, circle of spirit. Notice all of these have circle of spirit, directed by the arrow. And this is Pluto, the perpetrator, circle of spirit, crescent moon of thought, of emotion and thought, and the cross of desire. So let's start populating the head. So it's all in your head. I say to clients that I do a psychological x-ray with 3 simple questions. I can pretty much see all of this. I ask about what you like and don't like about your mother, your father. Your child script is how you describe yourself as a child and how others described you. With that information, I can pretty much see your psychological x-ray. So this is a manifestation of it using the image of the Philosopher's Stone or the squared circle. And now I've added the chakra petals from the 6th chakra and all of the planets. So you can see all of those archetypes. People love astrology. They love planets. They're archetypes that live in your head. This is the representation. So this is pretty much symbolic of the 6th chakra that I told you is a void. Well, it's a void with all this going on. And the 2 lotus petals over here. One has the moon that's linked to mom. One has the dad, the sun that's linked to dad. In the ideal, you are the diamond sitting on that throne, balanced with your masculine and feminine energies, and then you can have your directed soul's purpose. Most of us are not. So here again in the triangle, thoughts, emotions, desires, the square is the body represented by Saturn, which is the limitation and the structure of the body. And Chiron is illness, whether it's physical or mental, it's our wound. Remember, the wound of the subconscious at the moment of conception is going to show up in the body. So Chiron and Saturn are there. The universe is Uranus. The perpetrator is Pluto. The victim is Neptune. The rescuer is Jupiter. Mercury is linked to thoughts, emotions, and desires. Venus, we're going to talk about in a moment. It didn't fit here next to the Mars, but it is the feminine counterpart to the Mars that balances the ego and gives you the heros, the mystical marriage within, when your soul is actually cleaned from the honey and in its divine will, then the feminine counterpart balances in the sixth chakra and you